Welcome to Voices of Women. I'm Chris Stanis, your host, and I'm also the founder of Women of Wisdom Foundation. We have been providing a conference in Seattle, Washington for the past 28 years to empower women and so they can create their dreams. And also we develop a circle leadership program for everybody. I'm also the author of the award-winning book, Women of Wisdom, Empowering the Dreams. And I'm going to start over because I realized I was looking at me and not at the camera. I could see myself because I was set up to see you. Oh, all right. Look at the camera, Chris. Okay, so let's have a long edit out of here. Okay. All right. Well, welcome to Voices of Women. I'm your host, Chris Stanis, and I'm also the founder of Women of Wisdom Foundation. We put on empowering conferences for women every year in Seattle, Washington. For the past 28 years, we have been changing women's lives. I'm also the author of the best-selling book and award-winning book, Women of Wisdom, Empowering the Dreams and Spirit of Women. It's also available as an ebook at Amazon. So today I have a special guest with me. It's Dr. Dravon James. She's the author of Freedom is Your Birthright. Dr. Dravon James is an inspirational speaker, radio host, and author of the Freedom is Your Birthright. She's the founder of Everyday Peace, a platform for her to help and inspire others to build the life of their dreams. I guess we have something in common about empowering women's dreams. Using her successful pharmacist skills, she brings light into others' lives by sharing her everyday peace message. She also hosts her own weekly radio show, Everyday Peace, on Unity Radio. Dr. Dravon James shares insights and tips on how to rekindle your passion to live the life you dream of. So welcome, Dravon.
Thank you, Chris. I'm happy to be here.
Great. Well, let's first talk about your book, Freedom. Freedom is your birthright. So, and about how freedom is going to set you free is kind of your concept. So how do you view freedom in that construct?
In that construct, so we talk about freedom being our birthright, and we're focusing on internal freedom because, as we all know, you could be externally free as a bird, encaged in every way, if you don't set yourself free internally. And so it's about, our perspective changing and putting old habits that no longer serve us to rest into bed and moving on and feeling free to embrace our life anew, change what needs to be changed, and knowing that we are free to do that. Only we can do that for ourselves. We can even get new external behaviors, but if we don't change the internal processing, we're in the same boat. So it's all about embracing the new from within.
Yes, all our work that we do is internal. I mean, the external is a reflection, and you're not going to find answers to your life always looking outside, which we kind of trained to do in our society.
We are, and for years, Chris, I got to tell you, I'm a pharmacist. I've been a pharmacist for 30 years. So very methodical, linear part of my brain, overdeveloped maybe, right? Meaning that I used to love people to give me steps like, oh, can I do it in 3 easy steps? Oh, can I do it in easy, right? And all that really does is change your external behavior. But if you don't change the internal processing, you just got new behavior, but it's running on the old frame inside, if you know what I mean. So the behavior looks new, but the processing system is the same. We really got to get in there and change the processing system. And that takes work, but it's fun work, it's beautiful work, and it's well worth it.
Yes, and it's if you don't do that and look at it inside in a new framework, you're going to be reacting for the old voices that are there, the programs that you've had, how you've developed your usual responses, reactions to things.
Yeah. It's amazing. And we're so talented as people too, because quite frankly, we can do it. We can get new external behavior, but running on the old processing system. And it's amazing how we do that. Like we look all fresh and new on the outside, like, oh, look what I'm doing. But on the inside is the same thought pattern that's plaguing us and really keeping us stuck in mud. So it's all about, the book is really all about understanding that we are powerful beyond belief and that we really do possess the ability to change anything about our lives, from the inside out. where we want to go, because we first have to produce it on the inside. So the book is very user-friendly. Anyone can, it's a tiny book, under 100 pages, and it just uses really basic concepts to explain, really important part of our lives. If we don't take mastery over our internal, we'll just be floating around in this mediocre kind of pool for the rest of our lives.
Yeah, and feeling resentful and angry and not always even knowing where that's coming from.
Yeah, and always on edge too. If you notice, a lot of women I talk to have this undercurrent of anxiety that's always present, right? We got to change that from the inside.
Right, right. Well, one of the things that you ask people is, what happened to you? So let's talk about that. That's a question to, I guess, you can ask yourself, what happened to me? Because maybe as a young person, I had all these dreams. What happened to them?
Yeah. I used to sell a very popular cosmetic brand, and I had an opportunity then to work with a lot of women door to door and all this stuff. And I remember having a social at my house and a gathering of women, and we talked about just our dreams. And we got to this one woman, and she says, I don't have any dreams. I've never had any dreams. I really don't want anything out of life. And I thought to myself, that's probably not true. Right. And as I got to know her more, I realized that she was in there under all this disappointment and resentfulness and just rejection. She was in there, but she had suppressed herself as part of her coping mechanism. Right.
Mhm.
So we really have, in order to find out, what is it that we're really passionate about? What is it that really lights our fire? We have to really go back and start becoming curious about ourselves. Right. We
Almost like
act like,
going back to being a kid. Like, I've told people before on the show, like, what were you passionate about as a kid? What did you love to do? To tap into that child and innocence of yourself. Because as an adult, we're not in touch with it.
no, we're not, because, I always tell people that no one really stole our passions. We traded it. We traded it for a bigger house, for a better job, for a relationship. I'll get back to me after I get these other things, right? And so
Right.
it's time to say, you know what? I've traded my passion for dust, basically, because all that fades away. We are with ourselves for the entire journey on earth, and we're worth the investment to just going back and saying, yeah, what did I used to like? And if you can't remember, I always tell people the quickest way into the now is through the five senses. Right? Become keenly aware of what you're seeing, what you're hearing, what you're tasting. Slow down and really experience everything. And it brings you to the moment and you say, oh yeah, I like that. And then just explore that. Allow yourself to become, the Christopher Columbus of your life, if you will.
Yeah, explore the
Yeah.
and that could be a challenge you can set for yourself,
Yeah.
to
To learn something
play
new
with it.
about
Yeah.
yourself. Yeah, learn something new about yourself and really get in there. Like, don't be, how we can be on the surface. Oh, I like flowers. Well, what do you like about flowers? Just really get in there with yourself and be gentle and kind, and just allow yourself to like and dislike what you like and dislike until you find, oh, here it is. You may find there's a lot of stuff. And what scares us sometimes, I think, is we think, what I've been doing, I may realize I like it even less than what I thought I did. So we're afraid to find out that stuff, that more disappointing things about our lives.
Oh yeah, afraid that we've oh my goodness, we went in the wrong career, or we made all these mistakes, because look what really could make me happy. And I think you probably have the stance that you can change at any age, and put those changes into your life, and there doesn't have to be an age limit of that. I'm 70 now this year, and that really doesn't have to stop me. Although I saw an invite to be on a it's almost like a vision quest, but it was a boat trip down the Grand Canyon or something, and it was real adventurous. And I'm like, boy, I don't know if I could do that now at 70. And then also the voice, well, why do I think that? I don't have to think that way. It just brings up a lot of fears, of course.
Yeah, because we buy into the number, right? And someone saying, we have all of these expectations they were somebody else's expectations, but we bought them and said, by this age you should have this, by this age you should stop doing this and begin doing this, and all of these arbitrary things that are set out there that, you know, at 70 you look amazing, you're in amazing shape, you can do whatever you want to do. But if we look at what society says you should be doing at 50 or 70, we're like, oh, wait a second, so
Yes, yes.
we have to now define our lives for ourselves, and that's a bit scary, right? Because we don't have the guide, is so uncertain. People say that about the times that we're living with the coronavirus, right? Everything's so uncertain. But the same thing about finding our passions. The scary thing about it is that it's uncertain. If we don't have a guidebook, somebody else telling us what this milestone should mean, we feel like we're kind of floating out there in the atmosphere by ourselves.
Right. And that's a good point. Like, we always want the to-do book, how we can change our lives, look at somebody else. Well, we can look at other people as an example, but we have to still do it for ourselves. We can't do what they did. But we all, we want to be told this is the way that it will work. And actually, you need to go and make mistakes. You need to test the waters and do this. That didn't work. We'll try this. It's learning mistakes is half of life. Going through learning from our mistakes.
If we don't make mistakes, we'll never grow. We'll never develop, right? But we're so afraid of mistakes. I know that probably goes back to our childhood too, because you think, oh, well, if I get it wrong, this is the end of what? And I always tell people, so it'll be the end of what if you get this wrong? It'll be the end of my marriage. It'll be the end of my career. It'll be, probably not. Mm-hmm. Probably not.
Right? Now we make up pretty big fears in our mind.
Yeah.
Well, I want to because you did mention it. I mean, we're in a particularly strong detour in our lives right now, personally and collectively, with this COVID-19 and the coronavirus, and having to stay home, even though some things are starting to loosen up. Not in my state. I don't know about your state, but we're still stay at home through the end of May, and then we'll see. And we're just a lot of people are still being very cautious, but we're on a place to everything's standing still. So it's unknown territory. We don't know how we're going to come out of this. We don't know what the new normal will be. There's talk we're not going back to the old normal. Well, there's a tendency to want to do that. The chances are it's not going to be the old normal or maybe for a while. So what is it, what are you doing in your life right now to move, picture yourself moving forward or taking care of yourself and seeing yourself as we go through this, and for others too?
Yeah, so I'm in Maryland, and we still have the stay-at-home order. I work in a hospital, so I've not had to stay home, or I've worked every day that I was scheduled to work. And so, but I do feel a slower pace. Not at the hospital necessarily, but just in my life, I feel a slower pace, and it's welcome. I welcome it. I wish that it did not have to come at such a high cost, all of the health and the lives lost with the coronavirus. But I think this time period is not so much a period of stress. For me personally, it's more of almost like a welcome time of reflection and rebooting my battery. Because, I realized during this time, I've realized how high pressure my life was before we got into this pandemic. And I'm like, how did I do all that in a day? How did I move at that pace all of the time? So what I'm learning is that I need rest. And probably other people do too, right? And that it's okay to spend a little bit more self-love time in meditation. I always call it, conversations with the universe. Now, I was doing that in my commute to work and my commute home, but it's nice in the evening, you can't go anywhere, to sit on the deck and just have those conversations with the universe without it being rushed and thinking, oh, I could be doing this, I could be doing that. I basically have subdued that mindset that I am missing out on something if I don't get out of this house right now, and go engage. Well, no, I'm staying home and I'm engaging with the universe and engaging with myself, more family time. So I'm actually utilizing it to just rekindle my passion for stillness.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, and I find it's allowing us to be more in the present, in the now,
Yeah.
because you can't really, what's tomorrow? Tomorrow's going to be just like today in some respects. So we're kind of retired in our household, so and I work from home anyway when I do work with Woman of Wisdom, which is volunteer work, but it's still work.
Yeah.
But we're in kind of the downtime, so it's I'm a lot of my friends are also at home, not able to work. I know I have heard from some people that they're working their work is just really busy, and it's kind of stressful during this time to
Mhm.
have to work. But on the other hand, yeah, you say you come home and you're with yourself. You have to be home. Out here, weather's starting to get good. The sun's out. Everybody's walking,
Yeah.
taking walks, but that's about what you can do.
Yeah.
But yeah, but so it's a good time for self-care and just reflecting on your life.
And that's, I think, you know, uh, someone I was having a conversation with yesterday, we were saying that we're like in a cocoon, right?
Mhm.
So when we have the opportunity to emerge as butterflies, we can create any self that we want in this cocoon, any self that we want, right? And so we can really, this is an opportunity to really look at how we were driving our life, because we are the captain of this ship. How were we driving it? Where were we driving it? And do we want to drive it the same way and in the same direction?
Mhm.
This is that opportunity. And not to be harsh with ourselves. Definitely, I do not believe in this being critical. That criticism is going to produce these lovely results. No, it doesn't. This is a time to sit back and say, you know what? Gosh, I'm able to learn from where I've been. And I believe I may make a subtle change right here and love myself for what I've done and where I've been, but be loving enough to myself to say, hey, let's try a little turn to the left or a little turn to the right, tweak a few things, and make a new start in some direction. And the good thing is, you get to keep all of your wisdom, all of your knowledge, and go down this new path. It doesn't have to be totally new. It could be just a small little tweak, but we're in a cocoon and we can really emerge anew. Whatever we want in this new life, whatever it's going to look like, we're going to be great if we decide we're going to be great.
Yeah, that's the key, because I imagine there's some people that are losing their jobs. They won't be going back to their job. They're looking at, what am I going to do with my life? And it can be a bit daunting and scary to when you're having those kinds of big changes.
Yeah, and I agree with that too. And having lost a job or two in my 30 years, I empathize with that. But the great thing about this time period is that you're not alone,
Hmm.
right? The whole, not even the whole country, the whole
World,
world
right?
is supporting you on your new journey. How amazing is that? There are so many people right now who can empathize with you. There's going to be so many organizations who come forth to provide help and solutions and resources. This is a wonderful time to reinvent the you that you want to be, that you always wanted to be. This is it. And the whole world slowed down for you to do it. How important are you? You're amazing.
Yeah, and it's very creative time, and we're seeing that too.
Yeah.
And yeah, so it's I think we're going to be looking back on this it's a very unique time, and it's hard to imagine what life will be like a year, 2 years from now. Although, yes, like we were saying, we can create it, but there's so many unknowns of how long this is going to last. How long are we going to have to stay at home? Or we don't have to stay at home anymore, but we have to wear masks, can't shake hands, can't hug people. It's just all these unknowns. But it's a time to know that collectively we are also going to be recreating our planet and our world and our culture.
Yeah. And so interesting. I usually hear birds outside every morning when I wake up, but I swear during this time period, they've been chirping louder and louder. And that's amazing. So I think that, we're giving the universe a break. What I would most encourage people not to do with this time period is to get into this space of complaining, because that energy just drags you down. And you
Right.
don't want to go into anything new with your energy low and dragging. You really want to keep your energy as high as possible. And of course, we're going to have those days where we miss what was. But we have to look with, I think, high expectancy of what will be. It'll be different, but different doesn't mean worse. Different could be better. Different could be better. I think, of people, I hear you mentioned about shaking hands and hugging. And in the course of my day, I didn't do a lot of shaking hands and hugging anyway. I mean, I work in a hospital, but that wasn't a part of my everyday, right? But it'll be so refreshing, I think, when we come out of this, that people will have that desire, to be in that space, to want to share that type of warmth. I hugged and shook hands at church. That's one day per week, but mostly my professional life, very, very stoic and, not stoic, but very professional, distancing anyway. But this time period may make some more passion in areas that didn't have that. You may not be able to do it, but just the heart, the smile. I can see when people return to work, it won't be this heaviness like, oh, I don't want to be here. Now there'll be some appreciation, like, yeah, your personality is different than mine. We may have some conflict, but boy, am I glad to share this space with you.
Yeah, it's kind of it's an incredible time. I meet on Zoom with different friends, and I actually can have backyard time because I have an alley entrance to my backyard, and I can have a couple people over with a safe distance meeting. We're gonna have an art day tomorrow with a couple friends, and
Oh, that
so
sounds beautiful.
yeah, and I have my husband, so we go for walks. So I'm not alone, but I do miss that freedom. Like, okay, I can go shop. Okay, I can go here, and we're not going anywhere because my husband is immune suppressed, so we're not doing the shopping. But we have means to get everything we need. But and I've even heard people say, like, the desire for shopping, it's more like just to go out and do something, the idea I can, run to the store and get something, but that's kind of more just getting out and doing something, because I think that the desire for having things will be less. The desire for, I have tons of clothes, and you hear people like, I don't need to go buy more things.
Yeah.
And
So
that
now
may be changing.
Yeah, so now we're getting to, more meaningful desires, right? Instead of the accumulation of things, right? In lieu of the accumulation of love for people and experiences, right? So we can get a quick fix by running to the mall and that takes away this innate desire that we have to connect. Right, we'll buy some new shoes or buy a handbag or something of that nature. And I think we're going to see a lot of people probably looking around their massive closets right now and saying, I don't need all of this. What I would love, as you mentioned, is to sit down, across from another friend and enjoy a cup of tea or a cup of coffee and laugh and smile and share. Right. So we'll get into that space. I do believe we'll see a decrease in the consumerism, right, and an increase in relationship. And I really, that would be amazing. That would be amazing. This increased desire for relationship.
Right. Yes. And it'll change what businesses are, we're such a consumer in the Western world, consumerism and buying things, and some businesses may not survive this. If people come out of this and they don't shop as much, what is going to happen to these businesses? And that fewer jobs for that, but that's going to create something new things are going to be created, and we have to keep that in mind, of that excitement that, hey, there always has been. It just takes time for sort of the new industries to come forward.
I got to agree with you, because it's that I think part of the thing is people are hoping things go back the same, so that, for good reason, because they don't want to see businesses suffer. But we have to remember that something new will emerge. The universe does not allow a vacuum to exist, right? So a business, a service or whatever is not going to go away and nothing come to replace that. Something will be there. And it's up to us as inhabitants of this universe, to make sure that that's something that replaces the thing that's gone, is something that truly serves the soul of mankind. Not just buying for the sake of buying, or buying so that we don't feel so isolated, right? People do that, they shop, it's shopping therapy, right? So that you don't feel the loneliness. Maybe we'll do something now that brings us together more so.
Right, more social activity. And it's interesting because we have the internet now, how we are able to connect that, wouldn't have been here 10 years ago, 20 years ago, or whenever we started all this. But so we're making connections. I've heard that some people have a fear like Zoom will be the norm, and it'll take the place of getting together in person. And I think I don't think that'll happen. I think it'll augment it. Like we'll be able to continue to Zoom. Maybe we'll Zoom instead of texting or emailing, and connect, and also in person. I don't think it's going to replace in person, but it's always that unknown that people get.
Yeah, it's the unknown. But you mentioned that I connected with 3 friends of mine from all over the country this weekend, and we had like a girlfriend chat, 4 of us on a Zoom call. Now, had this not been, the COVID-19 season, I'm not so sure that we would have carved out that time, right? And we love each other, we love chit-chatting, but we were on a Zoom call for maybe 2.5 hours, just laughing and catching up. And so, and before, we text all the time, but texting is not as intimate as seeing someone's face and having and laughing and seeing their eyes and things of that nature. So there'll be some trade-offs, I'm sure. But I think we're going to see Zoom. I don't think it's going to be the norm, but it's great for bringing people together who would not normally see themselves. They're on different parts of the country, maybe in different parts of the world. Now they're coming together and they're communicating. As before, they would just a quick text once a week. Maybe we're not going to go back to that. I really think this time period has the ability to improve our longing for relationship, right? So we'll have that desire and our ability to establish deep, long-lasting relationships, which is really what this journey is all about. Relationship with a higher power, relationship with ourselves, and relationship with others.
And the word that comes to mind too, and we hear it spoken a lot, is kindness. And we are seeing more kindness, but we're also seeing the shadow of people doing kind of, reactionary things and fighting this. And that's the sad part of it. And yet that's always the case of, you have the polarities of, the kindness and, and meanness that, but
coexist, right? They coexist. I always tell my kids, I say, everybody gets to the point of balance at different times in their life, right? And so even in the midst of the polar opposite of kindness, and those people who are experiencing that, it's an opportunity for those of us who choose to embrace kindness to now teach by example. Right? And still practice loving kindness when we see the exact opposite of that. To not that we accept wrong when wrong is wrong, but we're still able to be kind in our correction, be tolerant of others. It's an opportunity really for us to not respond with fire responding with fire, for us to be cool and watch and see, oh yeah, that's fear. That's not really anger that you're looking at. That's fear.
Right. And to not have that unknown, you don't know where they're coming from. Having that curiosity of, well, you're not in their shoes, so you don't really know their circumstance, why they have this reaction, why they have these thoughts, and contrary to what and how you are in your life with your family and your friends, and to be have that compassion and tolerance because setting out the kindness and the love is what changes the world. And keep putting it out there, even for things that you can't tolerate very well. We have to do that.
And some bizarre things happen, right? And you hit the nail on the head. I love being curious. And we started off by talking about going back to that curiosity when we were a kid. And if most of us would ask our parents 1,000 questions about another person, and why this, or why that? Did you notice this? Did you notice that? Right? If we just go back to that place of curiosity, it removes the judgment, right? And it allows us just to be interested in this individual. We're just interested in, how'd you get there? What are they thinking? And then become curious about our own response, right? As we tense up and draw back, and we become curious about that. Like, what about that makes us tense up? What about that makes us want to reject them? This whole period really could be a time of healing. It really could. And not everyone's, and here's the beautiful thing, Chris, not everyone's going to heal at the same rate. We're not all sick in the same way, right? So we're not going to heal at the same rate. We're not going to have magical, I don't know, Zen-like behavior when we come out of this cocoon, and that's okay. But some people are going to be in a place where they're able to become the observer, and through that process, their energy will start to raise the vibration of their community, of their job. It really, I believe, is going to be beautiful when we come out. It won't be the same, but it will be beautiful. And there will be challenges, but there'll be people in that space who are holding the energy of curiosity. It will be fine.
I have a vision, like, we don't always know our neighbors or, people in the vicinity very close to you, but you have a whole block of houses. And I just have this vision of when we can go out, that everybody's out in the street dancing.
Oh, wouldn't that be lovely?
And
Yeah.
we have a street the city has closed off for cars. So we're on a corner, and there's a whole street, about 30 blocks, that's a walking street now, no cars. And so that's kind of nice. Seattle has opened up several streets like that so people can have more room to walk, but it makes for more people walking on our street. But it's kind of fun to see everybody.
Yeah. And people you've been living in the community for, 15, 20 years, it's like, oh, I didn't even know. So yeah, it's gonna be great what we discover about ourselves, what we discover about our community. And just imagine if one community at a time started healing just through the power of curiosity, love, and tolerance. Boy, we decrease the fear factor by so much, because a lot of the unkind acts that we see are all fear-based.
That's true.
They're fear-based. Something about them is totally, really afraid of losing something, of there not being enough. But there's enough smiles, there's enough love to light the whole world up.
Right. I was thinking, what was I thinking? It just went in that moment of.
I have those too.
It's just such a unique time, and I think going forward I know it's just the collaboration that's happening, and even for countries and scientists and medical people all working together to find solutions, versus in the past it's kind of been each country on their own, each company on their own. And I think that may be one of the positive things that we'll see change, is people will be more open to collaboration versus the competition of, we've got to be the one that makes the vaccine. We got to be the one that discovers this. We got to be the one that solves this problem. And so what we're reading is about a lot more collaboration of bringing all the information together so everybody can come up with, and that brings the creativity to solutions.
It does, because, we minimize the ego effect, I call it, right? It's me first, because it's the survival thing. I got to get the prize for doing it first, because that's how I'm going to be validated. Now we're looking at more outcomes and saying, like, if we come together, we pool our resources, our creativity. And because, if you put two or three, the Bible says if two or three are gathered, there he is in the midst. And so we put these two or three creative people together, and what do you get? You get synergy, right? More, you don't get four, or you get more than that, because all this energy multiplies. So I think we're going to see that on a global level, but we'll also see it in households. I would imagine when people first went in to hibernation, as you would, alone with their family, they probably were like, oh, I'm never going to make it. Right? But I would imagine as they stuck in there, they realized that, wow, I can do this. This is the collaboration. That's what families are, right? There are people who have different points of views who have to come together to make something work. Right?
Yeah, I'm thinking of our neighbors have, the husband is home working, so the mother has a lot on her plate. Sometimes by Friday she's tearing her hair out, but I'm seeing she has 2 boys that are 5 and 7. And so they're constantly, that's who they can only play with each other, nobody, no other kids. And I've asked how that's going. And the older brother is kind of like, always being tailed by the younger kid. And it's kind of bothering him, but I'm seeing them play. I'm thinking this is such a bonding time for them.
Yeah. Yeah. And you will, oh my gosh, yes. Yes. And I think, can you imagine that? The love that's going to happen in each home as they get to know their family members better. Because before this pandemic, if we really looked at how much time we actually spent with family members, it wasn't that much. Not awake, right? Because we're just so busy and we're moving so fast and we're involved, and so the average household is just so very busy. So now you get to get in there and see, at first, yeah, it would bother me tagging around, but now I realize I actually like you. Right? And I learned something about myself too. So this is exploration, curiosity, a little bit of love, a lot of patience.
A lot of patience and kindness. And there's always the shadow work. I'm sure that there's lots of issues that are coming up, being kind of forced to be in your household with your whole family.
Yeah.
It's going to bring up the shadow. It's going to bring up issues that either you can ignore or you can face them and be creative and learning.
And I'm so hoping that we've stayed in long enough that ignoring it is no longer an option. You can do that for a couple of days, a couple of weeks, right? But after, when it's just in your face, after a while, I hope that people have allowed themselves the safety to be honest. And, in a safe and loving way, so that you can confront some of those things and get that, the stuff out of the shadows. Shine the light of awareness on everything, every dark corner, let it be lit up so that you can see what's in there and that you can emerge with love. We're not going to agree on everything. We shouldn't agree on everything, right? Because if we do that, we lose creativity. So we don't have to agree on everything, but we want those corners, we want those shadows lit up so that we can see each other and so that we can be organically truthful and honest and transparent in every situation that we're in as well. So all of this can happen while we're in the cocoon. All of this can happen. And we're, that's part of freedom is your birthright, because we can be in this space one or two ways. We can be here in our truth, willing to receive and to give and balance and to grow. Or we can be here in this cocoon, in this space, balled up like a tight fist, complaining and fear and stress of the unknown, believing that we're isolated and it's only happening to us. And that would be untrue. That would be so untrue. And it would be so unfortunate. So just to open up and realize it's okay to be scared. We don't know tomorrow. It's okay to be scared, but then to bring it back to the present moment and say, here's what my eyes see. And I'm so grateful for what my eyes see, not for what my futuristic eyes think they will or will not see, but what my current eye is landing on. Here's what my ears hear right now. If you open up your window, you'll hear some beautiful sounds, even the silence. The ambient silence is beautiful. So just allowing ourselves to exist in that space minimizes the panic and the stress, and ungnarls our fingers and our hands for a moment so we can just say, and breathe deeply. Breathe deeply in this space.
Yeah. And I also want to acknowledge for some people, they might not be in a place that they feel safe to talk or share or let others in the family know what's going on. And I would think with your message is just to know to go inside yourself and love yourself.
Yes.
And let it be.
Be honest with you, right? And the universe, because the universe loves you. We can call it a higher power. Be honest there. Be loving and kind to you. Don't let how you treat yourself be predicated on how others treat you.
Yeah, that's good. That's a great message to take in. So we've talked about a lot of things, and I'm just wondering what you'd like to end with for a message for our listeners.
Yeah. So the message I would like to give our listeners today, as we are cocooned, is to really work to rekindle your passion. And your passion is not dependent upon what the external world does. Fall in love with you, just the way that you are, accepting you to be enough in this time period, to whatever comes on, you are enough, you know enough, and you have enough. Stand in that space. Stand in that space, and let that become part of your mantra during these times while we're home with family and friends. And as you mentioned, Chris, it may not be the best of situations on your external world. Make it an even better situation in your internal world.
Well, thank you so much for being on the show today, Dravon. And I want to, can you give your website? People can read more about you and find out more about you.
Yes, I absolutely can. My website is www.drdravon, D-R-A-V for victory, O-N, James.com, www.drdravonjames.com.
Great. And I'll leave my website is chrysalisleadership.com. That's KRYSAALIS, leadership.com. And also womanofwisdom.org, where you can find out about all the things that we do here in Seattle with circle work and bringing community together of women. So everybody have a fabulous week, or whenever you listen to this. It'll be up on YouTube. It'll be on Blog Talk Radio. You can also look for Voices of Women in Blog Talk Radio. Okay, so bye for now.